All right. A wonderful good afternoon to each and everyone. And it's good to have us on this call today. My name is Silas Etiahiniapia, and on behalf of the HR Certification Center, today being a very special day, I want to wish each and every HR professional on this call a happy International HR Day. You do a lot in our organizations, and our workplace is what it is today because of you. So thank you. Thank you so much. Now, today, I wouldn't want to talk too much because we have a very packed lineup and we'll be engaging with very insightful minds and thought leaders on particular conversations. So I want to just do a brief introduction of what this program is about and then talk about the proud sponsors being the HR Certification Center. Now, today we are going to have the roundtable, and the roundtable is a webinar or a strategic discussion that is meant purposely to be able to position the HR industry in a place where we learn, we build ourselves, and then we lead with purpose. This is proudly brought to you by the HR Certification Center. The HR Certification Center is a training center that is well positioned to provide executive leadership trainings for HR professionals and business leaders. We focus on consultancy, we focus on HR certification training, and we do executive short courses as well. But today's discussion is going to be on something very special. We want to understand how to empower our teams, how to position them in a way that they are able to lead the organization to its goal or strategic objective. And today we have a few people on the call who will be driving the conversation. But before they come in, I'll introduce our moderator, and our moderator will be the one to introduce our guest speakers. Our moderator is in the person of Portia Napaba, and she's an SPHRI. For those of us who do not know what SPHRI is, that's the Senior Professional in Human Resource International, which is the senior level of the international certification program brought to you by the HR Certification Center. Now, Portia is a seasoned human resource professional with 10 years of progressive HR experience across the mining, manufacturing, and the energy industry. Throughout her career, she has built a strong reputation for driving organizational effectiveness through strategic human resource management and impactful learning and development initiatives. Her expertise spans talent development, employee engagement, people management, and fostering high-performance workplace cultures. Now, beyond her corporate achievements, Portia is deeply passionate about career development, mentorship, and community empowerment. She strongly believes in the transformative power of strategic HR and learning intentions to shape not only organizations, but society as a whole. This person fuels her commitment to mentoring young professionals, providing professional counseling, and supporting businesses and aspiring individuals to unlock their potential and build sustainable growth paths. Currently, she serves as the human resource business partner at SenPower Operations Limited. Portia's journey of professional excellence is reinforced by globally recognized certifications, including the Senior Professional in Human Resource International, that is awarded by the HRCI, as well as a certification as a professional instructor or facilitator by the Development Dimensions International. Portia brings a unique blend of practical HR expertise, people-centered leadership, and a genuine passion for developing talent and empowering others to thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, with virtual round of applause, let's welcome Portia. Hello, Portia. It's good to have you here.
Hi, Salas. I'm so excited to be here.
That's nice. We are happy to have you. Now, before I hand over to you to introduce your panel, I want to just lay a few ground rules. Now, This conversation is a live conversation and we want it to be as interactive as possible. So we would encourage our audience to put their questions as and when they have them in the chat box or in the comment section. And when we open up for the Q&A, we are going to do well to read them. Also, if you are live, let us hear from you. You can put it in the comment section where you are joining us from, and we'll do well to acknowledge you. Portia, once again, thank you for joining, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Silas, for that welcome and that beautiful introduction. That's so exciting. And a very good afternoon to all participants out there, and welcome once again to the HR Roundtable discussion. In fact, today's discussion is a very special edition, and just like Silas mentioned, today we get to celebrate all HR professionals across the globe. HR professionals are so amazing. And so today we say, are you cool to our HR professionals? It's so amazing how sometimes we have to turn into strategists. Sometimes we are mediators. Sometimes we have to come in and play the role of a psychologist. And so to all HR practitioners out there, we say, are you cool to you? It's so amazing how you remember everybody's birthday. And so today we say, are you cool to all our HR practitioners? Today on our roundtable discussion, we have a very insightful topic, which is empowering people to lead change. And personally, I believe that this couldn't have been more timely because you believe with me that organizations are developing faster. They are developing faster even more than the policies are being amended. And so it's very important that we get to empower people to lead change. And we have moved from the era of just telling people to adapt to change to the era where we expect people to initiate change. We expect that they should be able to influence change and also sustain it. And the big question is, have we empowered them enough? And so on today's discussion, I'm so excited that we are going to be exploring empowering people to lead change. I'm so sure that after this discussion, we are going to be empowered ourselves to go out there, empower others to also lead change. This afternoon, I'm not alone on this discussion. Just like Celeste mentioned, I have some incredible industry experts who are going to be helping me to do justice to this topic. And so I'm going to have a brief introduction of two industry experts who are joining us this afternoon. And the first profile I'm bringing up is Ruth Equerry. So Ruth Equerry is a dynamic programs and partnership leader at Datalium, where she drives large-scale initiatives focused on talent development, workforce transformation, and strategic partnerships across Africa. With a background in statistics and a strong foundation in data-driven decision-making, Ruth has built a reputation of designing and executing high-impact learning programs that equip professionals with in-demand digital and analytical skills. Her work cuts across multiple sectors, including nonprofits, edtech, finance, and SaaS, giving her unique ability to design solutions that are both context-aware and scalable across industries. At the core of Ruth's work is a deep commitment to human capital development as a lever for sustainable growth. She has led and contributed to programs that have empowered thousands of learners, particularly women and young professionals, with skills in data analytics, AI, and business transformation. Through flagship initiatives such as AI for Her and her broader community building efforts, she is actively closing the gender gap in tech while creating structured pathways for mentorship, career advancement, and job placement. Her approach blends strategic foresight with practical execution, ensuring that learning becomes translated into real-world impacts for individuals and organizations alike. Beyond her corporate achievements, Ruth is the founder of She's Cool Initiative, a social impact platform dedicated to advancing girls' education and STEM inclusion in underserved communities. Since its inception, the initiative has supported the education and skill development of young ladies through scholarships, trainings, and resource provision. A recognized leader and storyteller, Ruth uses her voice to advocate for inclusive education systems and future ready skills across Africa. Her work reflects a singular mission to unlock human potentials at scalable and build a generation of empowered, skilled, and globally competitive talents. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Ruth Equeri joining us all the way from Nigeria. Ruth, we are so excited. So, with a virtual round of applause, we welcome
Thank
Ruth to the
you.
HR Roundtable discussion.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Portia. It's such a pleasure to be here today. I am wishing everyone a happy International HR Day for all the amazing work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruth. We are super excited to have you on today's discussion. Yes. And so the next personality who is joining us is John Louis Opata. John Louis Opata is an award-winning learning and development strategist and one of Ghana's leading voices in enterprise capability building and organizational transformation. With over a decade of progressive experience in financial services, he has distinguished himself as a visionary architect of high-impact learning ecosystems that directly drive business performance and institutional resilience. John is known for redefining the role of L&D from a support function to a strategic growth engine. His thought leadership lies in integrating data-driven learning, AI-enabled solutions, and immersive leadership experiences to build future-ready organizations. A strong advocate for aligning learning strategy with business transformation, John brings deep insights in leadership development, change management, and learning analytics. His approach is anchored in delivering measurable impact, linking capability building to organizational performance, culture transformation, and long term sustainability. John's influence extends beyond execution into shaping national and industry conversations on learning and development. Currently, he serves as the president of the Ghana Learning and Development Network. Ladies and gentlemen, with a virtual round of applause, help me welcome John Louis Opata. And now, participants, you can tell me why you think this discussion is not going to be insightful. With these high profile personalities, including you online, we are going to have a great time here to discuss this issue. So, welcome once again, John, and welcome, Ruth.
Thank you, Portia, for having me. And let me just say that I am the vice president of the Ghana Learning and Development Network and not the president. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for alerting me on that. So, John is
Yeah.
the vice president of the Ghana Learning and Development Network. Yes.
Great.
Yes, so John, Ruth, we are very excited, and today happens to be a very special edition. Like I mentioned, we get to celebrate our professionals, and I've mentioned early on that HR professionals do amazing. We see them do a lot beyond what is actually defined within our territories. And you would also bear with me that when it comes to change, leadership really enjoys change and they love change. And so once you close from a meeting, the next question you are hearing as an HR professional is, when are we implementing it? When is this happening? And interestingly, you hear employees also asking, why are we changing this again? What does the future hold for us? What should we do to get there? Then this is where the miracle working business of HR comes in. You see, HR also plays the role of a miracle worker. So now you have to make sure that this change happens seamlessly. You have to make sure that the change happens with everybody's interest on board. And so, John, let me first find out from you your thoughts on change management.
All right. Thank you once again. And hello, Ruth, and happy International HR Day to all of us who are doing the miracle business. All right. So, change management, since we're Africans and we love stories, I would tell a story. So, imagine that, growing up, you are in the house and then your parents come. Once they come, they said, we are relocating, we are moving from this place to that place. There is no discussion to you with you as a child. There is no preparation. There's no emotional processing. You are just told that we are moving from this location to a new location. It might be a good place, it might be a wonderful estate with all the facilities and whatever it is that you can talk about. But the question is, are the employees, who in this case, the children, are they happy about where we are going? So in this context, we'll say that the parents are leadership. The relocation is the organizational transformation. But the question is, are the children happy about it? The employees. Whilst we are desiring for them to move to a new location, the question is, they would still be thinking about the old estate wherein they stayed. And so for me, change management is a structured process of helping people and teams transition from a current state to a desired state. Now, the change is the event, but the management is how we help the people transition and survive as they go through the event. And so I hope with that story, which I mean, as Africans, we all relate to, helps us to bring change management into perspective. And that is how we're going to have discussions this afternoon. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, John. Yes, and I can really relate with that story. So it doesn't really matter what you are giving to the person. I always say that even if you are giving the person the best, but the fact that you did not manage the process very well, you would have some hitches there. So once employees are used to a particular trend, no matter what you are bringing up to them, you may be moving them forward. But the fact that you didn't unfreeze what they knew previously, make the impact and now freeze the situation, it becomes difficult. Thank you so much. And that is where the cultural shock also comes in.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
once change is not managed very well, people get into the situation and they are taken aback. Thank you so much, John. But I'm not
Mhm.
leaving you now. I still want to find out from you, John. In our part, in some organizations, leaders just come up, they give out responsibilities. Now, John, you are expected that you train 300 people this year. This training will come with cost implication. But John is not given any power to control the budget. So my question here to you is that when you are given responsibilities from your leaders and then you are not given real power, like how you are going to manage the budget, just to even try and tweak some courses, how are you going to fix this in a cost conscious environment?
All right. So there's something I call symbolic empowerment. It's always in the symbols. You are asked to execute a change initiative or a change activity, but you are not given the necessary empowerment that resonates with it or that is supposed to go along with that assignment that has been given. So, how do you then deal with this situation as you have rightly asked? You know, the thing about change management is that if the people lose the desire for the change, they feel powerless about it. They do not see themselves within the change as it's supposed to happen. In that instance, they are not in it right at the onset. And so for me, I feel that empowerment does not take away governance. It means creating boundaries, giving the people the opportunity to work, but let's guide the change as it's supposed to happen. And so for me, I would say that we could look at it in three ways. Number one, give the teams give them the opportunity to decide on what to do, but guide their liberties that you have given to them. There should be some boundaries within which they are going to work. That is only when they know that they have that sense of autonomy to engage with the assignment that has been given as well. And then also, we should also help them with limits. What limits are acceptable? What is not acceptable? Once there is that clear guidance in terms of where they are going and what has been given to them to do, then we can say that these people will feel empowered to execute. But if you give them the assignment and you take away their level of decision making, or what how they are supposed to engage the people, then you will not get the expected desired. For instance, let me give an example. And so on a project, you ask that the project manager should take absolute control of the project from end to end. However, for even a simple budget decision of, let's say, 1,000 Ghana cedis that needs to be spent, they would have to go through about four approval levels. That brings a whole lot of frustrations. And once that desire is quenched, while that desire is not stirred up, forget it. You will not get the results that you're expecting. Thank you. I think you are on mute.
Thank you so much, John. So that was so detailed. Yes. And I'm glad that we are all eventually coming to a conclusion that once responsibilities are assigned, then as a form of empowerment, people should be given power. So if I've been assigned to take up a task, I should be given the mandate to also make some alteration. And from what you have just discussed with us, we see that you are saying that when there is an opportunity given, it should still be guided. So it means
Yes.
that we just don't push people in there. Thank you so much. Yes, Ruth, I have a good discussion with you, and I'm so glad that you are bringing us a different perspective from Nigeria. And that is why this is an international platform. So we also acknowledge all the international audience here. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Ruth, I'm just taking you back to Daniel Pink's model. Daniel Pink's model talks about autonomy, mastery, and then purpose. And you know that in our sector, when it comes to HR, mostly when leaders are looking for an opportunity to cut down on cost, they run to us for whatever reason we don't know. Yeah. So I just want to find out from you your thoughts, because Dan Pink says that people want autonomy, they want mastery and purpose. Let me find out from you, when you are cutting down on cost, which of these actually works?
Thank you so much, Portia. Again, super excited about this conversation because of how important it is at this time. Today, we are seeing a lot of transformation. We are seeing a lot of innovation in the work that we are currently doing. We are now having budgets. Organizations are thinking about budgets for digital transformation within their own ecosystem. And so it becomes really imperative for us to even understand how this would affect the children, like John had mentioned, the employees, right? How does it affect them? And John Pink rightly mentioned three things: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. But I want to start in reverse: purpose. Before anything is done, people must absolutely understand why. Why is this done in the first place? What's what should why is it necessary? Why is it important that we do it? Because while you are trying to cut costs, so tying to John's story, the reason for movement at the time could have been that, take for example, where I stay here in Lagos, could be more expensive, and you decide that, oh, let's go to maybe Ogun State, for example, so that it is less where things are a lot easier, or cost of housing and the rest is not as much as. And so that is not communicated early. And so what needs to be done at the very first instance to drive motivation is employees need to understand why that change needs to happen in the first place. And that can come about by sensitization across board. Secondly, is mastery. Now, for us to be able to create real change, people need to be able to do what is necessary for that change. The reason why people are scared of change, for example, we are clamoring about AI today, digital transformation. And take, for example, there is a new law or a new strategy by top executives to say, oh, we want to deploy some sort of AI automation across teams. The fear would not be that everybody knows that AI automation is good. It is very important at this time. But what then becomes very important is, how do I have the skill at this point in time to drive that change? Or are they going to be are we going to get in external individuals to or employees to come and run that change for us? And so it becomes very important for senior management to take into consideration building capacities within their team for every change process that they want to undergo. That way, you are communicating to them that we are interested in you, we are committed to you. While we are committed to change, we are also committed to empowering our people for change. And that's where people like us come in, where we have training programs for organizations, we have coaching, we have mentoring, we have structured training programs for employees as they navigate that change process. I think that that's what Dan Pink was talking about, that you cannot tell people that, oh, we want to change and not empower them with the right skills for change. So skill building becomes very crucial for change management. Last but not least is autonomy. Now that we have trained these people, we have given them the skill sets, we have built them up, we've given them capacity. People do not want People want to live a life where they know that they can contribute, where their ideas are seen, and that's where self autonomy comes in. You're not We are saying that we want to have this change, and we trust you enough to bring up ideas that will lead us to this change. And so self-driving teams then become very important, such that individuals within these organizations, employees within these organizations know for sure that their ideas and their contributions are valued. And that's where autonomy comes from. People want to have a sense of ownership over their lives and the things that they create. And employers, I mean to say, must be able to give employees room to thrive in these three areas. Thank you. I think that answers that question.
Ruth, thank you so much. Okay, John wants to
Yeah,
come.
let me just add up to a wonderful submission from Ruth. You see, when the people, in this case the children, understand the why, I always say that they are ready to walk through the fire with you. And so it is very important for us to bring into perspective the why for the change. So something I put here is that in relation to what Pink said, purpose stabilizes people emotionally. Once they understand their purpose, they have that innate sense of stability and they are ready to go to the uttermost end with the organization. Mastery, in this case, rebuilds confidence practically. You see, mastery, there's something about repetition, doing the thing over and over again. That is how we rebuild mastery. And when that is done, we what comes along with it is confidence. Confidence. Then finally, I'll say that autonomy restores dignity psychologically. Believe you and me, if an employee or a manager or a supervisor, whoever it is, wherever you are within the organizational structure, if you don't have that sense of autonomy, you are like micromanaged every single way along the line. Psychologically, you will not be safe. And so what I would want to add up to say to it is these three things: that autonomy restores dignity psychologically. In this case, we should always lean towards purpose. The purpose, the why is very key. Thank you. That's my addition. Yeah.
Wow. Autonomy restores dignity. Yeah, we are learning a lot this afternoon, and I'm so glad with the approach that you have introduced in. So, leaders, participants, we are saying that change is something we cannot run away from. It's the order of the day. I mean, that is what we have, and that's the reality we have in now. But we are saying that when this change is happening, we have to make sure that we are giving people autonomy. We are making sure that they master what they're supposed to do. And of course, they have to understand. So that is where the purpose comes in. Once we understand what we are supposed to do, just like John said, we'll walk with you through the fire because we understand the direction we are going in. Change mostly is resisted because of the fear of the unknown. So,
Yeah.
centering on this conversation that we are having currently, once the people are sure about what is ahead of them, then it's very likely that it would move ahead. Thank you so much for giving us this insights in these areas. And let me use this opportunity to once again acknowledge everybody who is joining us online. And as the discussion goes on, you can please drop your questions, your comments in the chat box. At the right time, we are going to be addressing them. John, let me come back to you. Now we are preaching change, and we are saying change all the way. First and foremost, do you believe that everyone should be allowed to lead change?
Everyone has a role to play in change management. But
Okay.
like in the football team, there are the strikers, there are the midfielders, and there are the defenders, and there's the goalkeeper. And I'm sure that these are the strategies that has helped us now to win the Premier League. That's just by the way.
Yes, the Arsenal fans,
Yeah,
I know. So let me
yeah,
just interrupt you a little bit. You are just making it clear to us that everybody has a role to play in there. So it's very
yeah.
likely that in the process of managing change, we could have a lot of people coming into play. How are you
Exactly.
going to manage the change such that it doesn't become chaotic?
Chaotic. Great. It's great. And I believe that most of us can relate with this within our organizations. And so, for every change management, every change coming along with this change management, there are various key actors. We have the sponsors, we have the critical people who I would call the early adopters, we have the middle guys there who are the translators, we have those who want to sit on the fence, we call them the neutral. We have the resistors, those who are also passive. So everybody within a particular change event has a specific role to play. Now let's go to the question: how do you then get the impact, and how do you ensure that everybody plays within the various roles that they are supposed to play to us for us to get to the desired end or results as expected? I would say that we need to leverage the early adopters. The early adopters are those people who quickly are ready to run with the change, if I should put it in simple terms. However, there's a caution around the early adopters. If the early adopters of an initiative, a change initiative, aligns to it, and organizations do not sustain their momentum, they tend with sustain their momentum with clarity, right? If that is not done, they lose their steam, and that would affect the change that is supposed to happen. And so, those early adopters, the fact that they are running with it does not also mean that they are fully empowered to run with it. And so, HR comes in, L&D comes in with capacity building, constant communication, constant clarity concerning the change that is happening, because they would be able to affect those who are passive about the change, those who are sitting on the fence. Let's wait and see what will happen. And again, let me talk about the resistance. There are people who naturally seem to resist the change, but some will call them the detractors. They are not necessarily resisting the change. I believe that if proved further, we will realize that these people may be having challenges with clarity, fear of the unknown, and all that. But we can leverage on these early adopters to affect those who are detractors. And then again, I would also say that for us to see the expected results of a change initiative that is supposed to happen organization wide, we should learn how to do things in bits and bits and bits. You want to do an organizational transformation, you don't just stand up one day and just boom, we are relocating from Lagos to Abuja. No, we need to go through it in phases. That is where we, in project management, the guys will always talk about piloting. We want to pilot the project. Let's start. Let's see those who will buy in at the early stage, and then they can even become the change champions as we have. And then also we should also be ready to share the lessons that are learned, the errors that happened, and what lessons that we learned during the pilot stage, so that if we learn from experience, then we can know that, okay, when we blow this thing up organization wide, we can be able to deal with these challenges, because the pilot stage and its happenings will be a microcosm of the entire change across the organization as we are expecting. So for me, it is very important that we follow this and leverage those who are ready to run with the change. Everybody has a role to play, and we need to leverage on what role that they have to play to get to the desired results that we're expecting. Thank you.
All right, John. Yeah, so we are leveraging on the adapters, and then we are getting the resistors or the people who are passive to join the
Yeah,
team.
yeah,
Are there any further rules you
I
want to share with us on that?
Yes, I wanted to add to it to say that another way we can look at it is an overarching vision. Now, people can lead change from where they are. We don't necessarily need to be at the forefront, just like John has said. We don't necessarily need to be at the forefront, but everybody on the team, everybody in the organization should understand clearly that they are part of a change process and they have a role to play. And what guides everyone is our North Star, our overarching vision. For so many of us, it could be our yearly objective, it could be our quarterly objective, our half year objective, right? And so everybody has to come into that alignment as to what our North Star is. Once that is done, at your level, be you an intern, be you a middle manager, be you a senior manager, an executive, at your own role, at your own rank, you are playing towards reaching the goal that has been set by the entire organization. And so at that when that happens, everybody then sees themselves as contributing to that change and leading change from their own standpoint. Yes, that's my contribution.
Wow, thank you so much. The conversation is getting more insightful, more interesting, and we are so glad that we have participants all around the world joining us in this discussion. So I'm excited about the perspectives that have come in so far. So when it comes to change, I'm picking from what Ruth just told us. You have to make sure that everybody identifies their role. So we are baking a cake. What contribution am I putting in there? So that when the cake is finally produced, I can say, oh, I added on to the icing. In the discussion we've just had, for my takeaway, I'm just looking at the fact that you have to identify the role of every person who is involved in this change. And just like John mentioned to us, you look for who are the adopters, you try and then you leverage on them to get on board those who are resistors and those who may be passive. Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying this conversation, and then I hope you're enjoying all following us online. You are not left out. Please drop your comments and then your questions in the chat box, and at the right time, we will attend to them. Now, Ruth, let me come back to you. And at the introduction stage, I mentioned that leadership loves change. And it's very true that our senior leaders, they love change because we want to see things moving forward. We want to see new things happening. And when we are fortunate, we have front staff who also see the need for it. So they are ready to embrace change. In our organizations, there is a class of people whose role is very critical. These are the middle managers. They actually influence the front staff a lot. So they are going to give the approvals for the things to be done. When change is about to happen, they also have a critical role to play. But if these managers are not well managed, they tend to have a fear of the unknown. So, Ruth, I just want to find out from you, when senior leaders tend to love change and front staff just see the need for it, when managers become the stumbling block, when they are not ready to support because of the fear of control, what specific action or measure can we put in place to unblock that fear?
Thank you, Pasha. I mean, this is a very critical part of the conversation because a lot of the times when we see new initiatives that start or die, it rests on middle managers. And I think that one of the ways we can change that is by reframing how we see them and how they see themselves. So how do middle managers become middle managers? A lot of the times, they started off as initial contributors. You see someone who is really good. He does, anytime you ask him, deliver me a report, he gives you a report immediately, and you're like, this guy is really good. And 1 year, 2 years down the line, you think, oh, this person is ready for a promotion. And then two, three, five, six, seven, eight people comes under him and decisions are being made, rises and falls on this person. But what we must understand is that leadership is a vital and a crucial skill for middle managers, such that it has to be taught. It is a skill. We must not see leadership a as inborn, but something that can be learned. And so it becomes really important that middle managers are trained for leadership. I think this is one part that a lot of organizations fail at, where we have a lot of expectations for middle managers, but little investments in middle managers. So the investment then comes in training on how to be proper leaders for their teams. I know John Maxwell had mentioned several the John Maxwell's flow of leadership. You have the positional, you have people who are there for position, the permission, the production, we have the reproduction, and then you have the pinnacle. A lot of the times, our middle managers sit at either the positional leadership or at the permissive leadership. But we must get them on, or even to production, but we must get them on to become people developers, which is the fourth level, right? Where they're able to see that their work is influencing not just anything, but the people underneath them. So when for example, your reportees come to you and say, oh, we really want this, and it is also a strategic goal for the organization, you are able to see yourself not as you're not scared that your role is going to be taken away, but you are seeing enabling your team as being something that would add up to you. I don't know if you get my point. So at this point in time, it becomes really important that we train our managers to become leaders and to see themselves as individuals who are not only who are not exposed. Because a lot of the times, what we see when change comes and when middle managers are supposed to lead change is that they feel exposed. They feel, oh, am I capable enough to lead this change? Once they have somebody within their team who is probably working better or smarter, they feel challenged. And so we must start helping them see that the strength in your team is your own strength as well. And that's where leadership comes in, where your team success becomes your success. And so appraisals for leaders or middle managers does not only rest on them, but rest on the amount of experiment that has been carried out by their team, the amount of good of outcomes that has been carried out by their teams that ties into the overall objective. That way, how we appraise then becomes different for middle managers. It then becomes what has been the success of your team. If we ask our managers how our teams are faring, what experiments we've run in the last 1 month, what sprints we've run in the last 1 month, it then shifts the focus from themselves to team performance. And so it becomes very important that we look at it from the standpoint of building leadership capabilities in middle managers, because at the end of the day, execution rises and falls in these individuals.
Um, Portia, let me
Wow.
just add up to a bit of comment. You know, when I was talking about the classes of groups within a change process, I mentioned that the middle managers are the success, like Ruth said, the rise and the fall of every change initiative. I'll call them the shock absorbers of every change initiative. Managements take the decision. You have said that managers love change. They'll take the decision. Employees hear of it. Whether it's making them happy or sad, it is how they are entitled to feel. The people who will run every change initiative are those in the middle space. And these are the line managers, or what we will call the middle managers. And so, two things: their level of awareness must be absolute, and their level of desire must be absolute. The best way to unlock leaders The best way to unlock every successful change management initiative is involve the middle managers from the beginning. Don't impose what you're expecting on them. Get them involved from the start. That is the only way you can get them to emotionally connect to the change that you want to happen. And that form of involvement which we are talking about is empowerment.
Yes.
You empower them by involving them. They also have, because really the staff down there do not interact as much as they interact with their superiors, that is those within the ESCO and all that.
Yeah.
It is the middle level people. So let's get them involved. Let's get them involved. Let's get them involved. Otherwise, the conversation will be that, okay, hello team. Almost say, hey, sorry. Almost say is a Ghanaian language to say, they say we have to do this. They say, not I say, not we say. You know what? So that is what we have to do. Let's get them involved. Once we get them aware, we get them desire, we excite their desire for the project, but we are gone. That is what I want to add. Thank you.
Wow, I'm just loving this conversation. Yes, of course, our middle managers tend to be very powerful. And as an HR practitioner, I always believe that when you have invested rightly, just like Ruth said, investing into your middle managers and then they know what to do, it even takes a lot of load off HR. So you can just imagine middle managers who really understands what the performance appraisal system is and they are contributing to the process being effective. Otherwise, they just see it as an HR initiative. Meanwhile, this is supposed to be a business initiative. So the fact that they haven't been invested in for them to understand that this is what is going to help business outcomes improve, then it becomes very chaotic. I'm so excited about the insights you have brought in. And yes, I believe strongly that investing in leadership is very key. And that is where empowerment comes in, just like John said. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are saying that our middle managers are very critical when it comes to change management. And so, if we want to be able to get it done rightly, then let's invest in this leadership so that they get to understand and feel part of it, so that they don't go out and say, they say, right? Just like John said, they will say, this is what we are doing. They feel a part of it. Thank you so much for those insights. So, John, let's continue our discussion. Now, we know that in organizations, we have people who may be high performers. We have some people who are just deteriorating the culture of the organization. I mean, we have some people who are very toxic. Now, when it comes to change management, if what happens to you when you empower such a toxic employee or a high performing employee who push change in the wrong direction? So, you know, this high performing person, he has the ability to manipulate situations because the person knows what he's supposed to do. So he uses his power to push things in the negative direction. How are you going to manage such a person?
All right, thank you, Portia. Let me say this, and HR, as HR, we need to be very bold and courageous to deal with issues that happen in such circumstances and situations. Why do you, first of all, unless of course you are not aware, why do you entertain a toxic employee within an organization? Number two, why do you uh, allow this toxic employee to drive your change initiative? So we should take note of that. Let me say this: we are talking about empowerment. Empowerment is very good, but empowerment without values is very, very dangerous. For instance, this toxic employee will definitely not exhibit the values of the organization. That is why he or she is toxic. You get it? And so we need to know and be guided around that. And so sometimes, as we ask people to drive initiatives that we have within the organization, it is for us to not forget the culture aspect of it. And that culture is always driven by the values of the organization. For instance, there was a high performer I know who was asked to drive a change initiative because, yeah, he was an early adopter. But you see, he did this at the expense of respect, at the expense of considering the um, emotional health of even the people that he was driving the change with. At the end of the day, the results was achieved, but he negatively influenced the culture with the organization. That is the core values. That thing, emotional damage, people were hurt and all that. And so for me, I think HR, we should be bold about these things. We need to let the change that we expect happen, but we should let it happen in a more respectful way, in a way that drives and exhibits the cultural values of the organization. That is the only way we can sustain the transformation and the change that we are looking out for. Yeah, that is my submission. Thanks.
Thank you, John. So let me just pull you in that same question again. So people find different ways to gain their power.
Yes.
In your submission, you were very right when you said that once you identify such people, the moment you empower them, they may push the agenda of the business in a negative direction. So let's assume that we are not doing that, but this person finds empowerment from a different source. So HR is not the one doing the empowerment, right? This empowerment could be coming maybe from an external source or even internally from a different section. What happens and how does HR step in at that juncture? Because some people lean so much on their bosses, they take power from them. Some people, because of the role they are occupying, because the role is a very critical role, they feel empowered naturally. So, how would HR step in to make sure that this toxic employee does not pull negativity into the business?
Okay, so let me cite this example. I think there's a TikTok video or so of an organization where the HR in I mean the organization had their dress code, right? And then everybody from the top to the down was supposed to live by the dress code. However, the HR had stopped a staff who was not dressed according to what the organization by policy has agreed to do. And as the HR was having a conversation with the staff, the deputy managing director walked by and was dressed just like the way the staff was dressed, not in accordance with the policy. Then followed by the CFO, who also passed by not dressed according to what the policy has agreed. In this case, how would you deal with such a situation? That, in a way, is related to what we are discussing. HR, whatever we do, however we run our organizations, we are guided by policy. We are guided by policy. The implementation of policy is where we say that, well, the policy says this, but management says this. And this staff who is bound to comply with the policy cannot live above the policy, the process, and the procedures of the organization. HR, our work is to ensure that everything that is done is within what has been agreed from the top to the down to guide the organization. And so I believe that we have to manage people who draw their empowerment from external sources to be conformed to the policy. We need to find diplomacy. You know, one critical competency of an HR person is influencing, your ability to influence people. Although the policy says this, you are not bending the policy, but you are explaining to the you are explaining the policy. You are getting the buy-in of the people regarding what has been agreed to do. And so for me, I believe that as HR, we should be bold to stand with our policies, unless of course the policy changes or the procedure changes, we should be enforced. And for our information as HRs, wherever an issue happens, anything that will be asked by any higher authority will be that what did the policy say? What does your procedure say? And so let's live by it. Let's guide the people to conform to it. And I believe that in doing so, we will be able to deal with such people that we have in organization. and we should also be able to manage upwards effectively. If you're able to draw wherever the staff or the employee is getting their strength from, you will then be able to engage such people that this thing is having an impact on the organization. Thank you.
All right, John, thank you very much. So, HR, we are supposed to be able to influence, we are supposed to stand by our word, and we are supposed to get everybody conform to what the standards are. Thank you so much for the insights you have shared with us. All
Yes,
right.
Pasha, I'd just like to add on to what Louis said, and that's around the fact that bad character corrupts people. So when you have people who don't conform to policies or conform to culture, you're not dealing with one person in the organization. You are dealing with the entire system. So today it is a certain John Doe that is causing or not conforming. Tomorrow you could have three more John Does who are not conforming, and before you know it, we are having a plethora of John Does who do not conform to certain tenets that the organization has set. And so it's very important for us to nip such characters in the bud. And for people who are high performers, I think that when we want to also lead change, it is important that we identify individuals who not only have skill, but have character and align with culture. Culture is one thing that is very important. You go into company A and company B, and it is different. Why? Because of culture. And so, even when we are driving change initiatives, we must also bear that in mind. Is this person fit in terms of skill? And is this person a culture fit to lead this change because of the ripple effect it has on the entire organization?
Yeah. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ruth. And I'm so excited about the perspective that we've all brought into it. So it's very important. Values also play a key role in this change management that we are talking about. And I always say that just like we are talking about the change management, even joining organizations, you have to be very sincere with yourself. Am I aligned to the values of this organization? If you are not aligned, you are better off to stay behind, because when you go into it, you cannot integrate very well. And so, in the same space, when change is being effected, we have to make sure that the people we are putting at those vantage points to effect the change, they have the technical abilities, and they also have what we have just discussed about the soft skill bit, so that we don't go get toxic performers there driving things in the different directions, so that as you are building, they are pulling you down. I think recently there was a video circulating where an HR was supposed to choose between either training the person or firing the person. The moment it gets to a toxic employee, the response was fire. Just like Ruth said, she doesn't believe that if you train this person, it's going to work. And she's going to corrupt all others. And before you know, your organization is full of toxic people and you have a lot to deal with. So, HR practitioners, let's look out for that. Let's make sure that we are positioning the right people in the right places for the change to happen. Thank you so, so, so much. And so let me continue my conversation with Ruth. Ruth, you bear with me that most organizations have long approval processes. Sometimes, if you're not careful, before you get approval for what you have initiated, your energy to drive it is already gone. And so we just want to pick your thoughts on this. Do you suggest a primo terms or giving people a budget to fail? Because what you're empowering people is very likely that there has to be a room for people to learn. So we are saying that should we think about failure even before acting? That is what the primo terms is talking about. And then we are also looking at the other perspective. Should we have a budget to fail? What's your thought on this?
Thank you, Portia. The first thing we need to understand is that despite the fact that we want to create change and we want to give people autonomy and we want to empower people, we shouldn't fail for failure's sake. We shouldn't fail just because we can fail. I don't know if you hear what I'm saying. So some people just say, okay, we are doing well for our people, so don't worry, just go ahead and do anything. And that's where risk analysis through things like the pre-mortem comes in. We must take calculated risks for every experiment that we want to undergo. Why? Because, of course, resources are limited. Every company, whether you have a billion or trillion dollar today, it is still limited resources in comparison to the goals that you have. And so, because that exists, pre-mortems are very important. What that means is, if you're giving yourself a case scenario that, oh, if we embark on this particular project, let's assume in 6 months time it fails. What could have caused that failure? And so we take a step backward to understand each of these stages. In project management, they will call them stage gates. At each stage gate, what can go wrong in each of those stage gates? And then you start working your way through to understand where the risks um, can possibly come from. Could they be financial? Could they be social? Could they be political? Depending on what the size of the project or the extent of the project that you are carrying out. When it comes to budget for failure, I think that one of the things that we should is the underlying understanding for it. I would rather call it a budget for experimentation, such that people know that you are free to experiment, right? You are free to carry out to try out things. And this works very, very well for marketing teams. So you see a lot of experiment that comes up, especially for marketing, where you have to try try a particular ad, try a particular strategy and see if it works. And so I think the budget is also important, but the framing is also very important, where we let our people know that we take calculated risks and we do not just fail for failure's sake. While we try to empower you, it is also important that we take the right step. We try to take the right step at the right time. And experimentation is something that is dear to us. And that's why we give a budget to experimentation. That's my submission on that.
Yes, Ruth. Take calculated risks. Yes. John wants to add on.
Oh, just to add up to say that within certain industries, it is important that you create certain budget for such environments. So instead of, for instance, in IT, I know that you could create, instead of the real investment, for instance, if it is a software that you are deploying, you should be able to create dummy environments, as they call it. I'm not an IT person and I'm not prepared to be one. It will create dummy environments where people can fail and then feel safe about it. Really, if people do not feel that they are how they fail would be sanctioned, then they will not do it at all. So I think that we should. It varies from one industry to the other. Yeah, that is what I would add up. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And so this is what Ruth calls the project for experimentation.
Yeah.
So once Ruth mentioned the fact that when you create a budget for failure, then you are psyching the people in that perspective. It reminded me of an organization where in one of our values, it was explained as you have the opportunity to fail using the company's resources. And during induction, new employee was so excited about it. Oh, okay, so I have the right to fail. And I was surprised. Why do you think you have the right to fail? So for that employee, once you have termed it in that direction, the belief is that, okay, I have the right to fail. But we are just talking about the fact that you give people the psychological safety that we are looking for the best. In the process of getting it right, you may need to do it one more time and you are
Yeah,
not being penalized for it.
yeah.
And that is how we get people to get involved in change and empowerment. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about your response. John, now when this empowerment happens, you know that as part of our decision making process, one of the stages is that we have to have an evaluation to make sure
Yeah.
that things are going right. If it's not going right, we look at what alternatives or what intervention we can bring in.
Mm.
Help us understand, how would you actually measure if employees feel empowered to lead change? So you do all you're supposed to do, you give them an abundance of resources, you train them. How are you going to measure this at the end of the day to know that these people feel empowered to lead change? Is it going to be through surveys? Are you going to do surveys or the hard metrics where you're going to be looking at behavior in the data?
Yeah, exactly. Surveys are good, You can get feedback from surveys, but they are not exhaustive. Yeah, surveys are not exhaustive. The real impact of a change, or the real expected end, should always be the change in behavior, since we are talking about people, and especially if you are looking at a behavioral initiative, we should be able to see visible changes. We have the soft ones you could see, which will be the um, for instance, perception metrics around I feel safe, suggesting new ideas, I can influence involvement in my work area, leadership listens to employee ideas. Those are feedback for you could poll to all staff in terms of surveys and get the results. Yes, agree. No, that you can get that. And then also behavioral metrics is we could look at is number of employees led initiative, number of employee-led improvement initiative, speed of decision making. Those are the hard facts that you could look at. And then innovation, the adoption rates within the various innovations that has happened. For me, the behavioral change is the ultimate evidence of successful transformation. If we don't see the behavioral change, then we will have to go back to the drawing board. Now, when we see the behavioral change, how do we reinforce it? When we see the behavioral change, how do we reinforce it? So it can be in acceptable benchmarks, and let's also agree that right from the beginning, the end should be in sight. You don't just implement change because you want to implement it. There should be an expected result. What is the success? What will success look like? Then you can measure what were the matrices agreed to determine those success stories. Then, through whatever methodology, survey, observation, hard facts, you could then use that to determine whether the determinants, the KPIs that you agreed for the change initiative would happen. So this is how we can, evaluate change as is expected. The end should be in sight from the beginning. Thank you.
The end should be in sight from the beginning. I agree with you perfectly. And I love the fact that you mentioned that we have to see a change in behavior to know that change has really been effective.
That's
Now, let
it.
me just
That's it.
pull you back into the same question. That is our belief. When change is effective, it means that behavior has also shifted. If you
Yeah.
have a CEO who loves to look at data, who wants to see what the people have said themselves, assuming the CEO does not even sit in the same office with you and doesn't visit you regularly, how are you going to prove with this ultimate change in behavior?
Okay. So that is where when you conduct the we call the perception surveys, the data will show. You ask a series of questions. You analyze the data. Where are the red flags? Where are the successes? Where do we have the greens? Where do we have the yellows? Where do we have the reds? Yeah, so that can be shown from surveys when we deploy it across the organization. And you always have to go and tell the story to the ESCO exactly as it is. Okay, the questioning and that part of the autonomy. Is it autonomy? Is it autonomy? Anonymous. Sorry, the word is anonymous.
Anonymous, yes.
Anonymous, yeah, because sometimes people may give you feedback that, and there's also that fear of being victimized. So anonymous should also be given. That caveat should be there, and you could leverage external institutions to do the surveys and feedback for you, so that at least it gives some kind of psychological safety for the respondents.
Thank you. Your last submission got me thinking. It's so interesting that as HR professionals, no matter how we try to prove to our people that these surveys are anonymous, some people still have their own doubts. And sometimes you just have to pull them into the machine and say, see, I don't get to see what you bring on board or who wrote
they
this.
don't they don't believe you. They will never believe you.
Exactly. And people will tell you that, oh, my manager knows my English. So even though he doesn't see my name, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly,
but yes,
exactly.
John, I concur with you in as much as we want to see a change in behavior. Now, data is what is going to support that when we have to report. So, in the process of empowering people to be able to lead change, let's make sure that we have our documentations, we have data to back whatever process we are going through. Yes, I'm just enjoying this conversation, and I'm sure that our audience are also enjoying it as much as we are doing. Very soon, we'll be zooming into taking questions and also taking feedback from participants online. So get ready, and you can also put it in the chat box now so that we'll project it and get it addressed. So, Ruth, let's do some final bits of our conversation. We know that some of our HR processes are straight. For example, when it comes to job description and annual reviews, and some sort of approvals that may be very bureaucratic. These have the tendency of blocking change. What is one of HR's policies that you would get rid of to make sure that people see that HR is really committed to empowerment, or HR is very serious about empowerment?
Thank you, Portia, for the question. I think it's very important. One of the things I would want us to work on as HR is longer times for review and appraisals.
Mm,
Most of the time, we wait year long or half year long for appraisals. And what that does is that during appraisals, you identify areas that needs to be corrected, areas that needs to be changed, areas that needs to be improved, or even individuals who have done so well. So imagine Mr. John Doe performed excellently in January, and you're waiting till July before you celebrated him, or you acknowledge that he did something great, or he was rewarded for the things he did. I think that that's something that needs to be checked. We also need to do our reviews early on, monthly, bi-weekly. We can shorten the gap for which reviews tracking is being done, because right now the rate at which change is being carried out is very fast, and we must be, as HR professionals, we want to be able to understudy how our employees on a day-to-day basis, on a week-on-week, on a month-on-month, monitor that change as quickly as possible. That way, you can identify gaps on time. You can identify individuals who need upskilling. We can identify individuals who are not aligned and then retract them. We can identify individuals who needs to be publicly praised and rewarded for the good that they have done. And so it then becomes very important that appraisal time should be shortened. And it doesn't need to be very hard. When people think about appraisals, it's always a thing of fear. Oh my God, what are my numbers looking like? What are my numbers looking like? But it shouldn't be that. We should create a system where people understand that the reason why we are praising you this early on is not because we want to expose you, but because we really want to put you on track. Even though we are going to do a yearly appraisal, we also need to do it bit by bit such that individuals who need help can receive help on time. I think that this is something that one policy that I would want to. I don't know how many of us in the call have this long stretch of appraisals, but I think it is something that I have seen happen over and over again.
yeah, that is where just what our performance conversations should be a weekly thing. In fact, it should be day to day performance
Exactly.
conversations, coaching. Line
Exactly.
managers must be trained to coach. You should be able to. This is where we've set ourselves to. So the line of sight should be clear. We've seen where we are going. We will not wait until the performance is conversational. Conversational. See, the end game is just that. At the end of the day, it will contribute to the bottom line. How are we going to get there? If I wait as a line manager to mid-year, if I wait as a line manager to the end of the year, is it now that we are going to, how are we going to get to the end result? So conversation, coaching, I think that line managers must be trained as coaches so that we coach our people towards what we've set ourselves to do. Just to add up to that. Yeah.
I I think that a lot of the times we do not see HR independent of managers. It shouldn't be independent because our line managers are directly interfacing with the employees. And so there has to be that very close sync between HR and line managers because they are the ones closely interfacing with the people. So it becomes a thing of when we have, back to the question about our middle managers, the onus on line managers seem to be a lot, and they must come into that realization that we are not here for ourselves, but here for our people. And we must see ourselves in that light. Once we see ourselves in that light, the flow between line managers and HR becomes closer. Yes.
Wow, thank you so much. And I can attest to that, that when line managers tend to support HR and HR also is able to draw on power mapping with these line managers, you get to have a very effective system running. So I also believe so much that with our line managers, we have to work closely with them to be able to bridge the gap. And when Ruth spoke, I picked out something. Apart from the performance management, that seems to be very bureaucratic, even when it comes to our recognition. Somebody does something, and instantly, once you recognize the person, it feels different from keeping it till the end of the year or till there is a town hall or anything. So for us to be able to take away this bureaucratic nature, then let's fall on these simple measures that we spelled out in our performance management. We say that daily conversations so that people don't see it as a threat. So people think that, oh, my line manager, oh, he's just waiting for appraisal so that he will use it to punish me. We should try and diffuse people of that mentality. I'm so glad that this afternoon we are making impact, and then we are empowering ourselves and others, and then we are going to lead change. Now, let me hear from you, John, and I'll take your thoughts on this route as well. I want to find out from you, as leaders in your organizations, I'm very sure there has been time where you have tried to empower people and it's failed. I mean, failure, just like we said, should we set a budget for that failure? But failure happens in our lives at some times. So can you share with us any moment you tried to empower somebody which turned out bad?
Yeah, this is quite a personal question. And so I would cite an example in my previous life. I used to work as a lecturer, and I had a TA who I worked with. And so, I mean, all through the semester, the TA had worked with me, had seen how we handle, and he also handles the tutorials. And so, um, assuming that I have some way through observation trained enhanced the capacity of the TA, I now asked him to handle the main class when I was away. Because in fact, I wasn't away fully. I had to go for a meeting, so I asked him to go and handle the class and start with. Whilst I was in the meeting, the class rep had to run to come and call me that there was an emergency in the classroom. Assuming that, so I was under the assumption that, okay, I had empowered this teaching assistant to handle through the tutorials his ability to teach and engage the students. Now, this was not undergraduate; these were distance learning students. So they are adults, they are people who are working and all that. And so I believe that through the tutorials he had built capacity, assumption. Then now the opportunity had come for him to handle the class in my absence. Empowerment, assumed empowerment. When I got there, in a fully air-conditioned room, my TA was sweating like someone would say a pregnant fish, and it was chaotic in the class. That is a failed form of empowerment. And so I learned a great lesson after that. I will not give people the opportunity if I had not given them clarity of purpose, enhance their awareness as to what we are doing, build their desire, and then seeing that um, they have exhibited their ability under supervision. So that is what I personally learned on that day, as to how I will not put myself in such a situation again. Yeah, I believe that is an
Wow.
easily example I can share readily. Yeah.
Afterwards, how was your relationship with your TA?
In fact, first of all, I had to apologize, and I gave him the opportunity again, but this time I did my homework well. I did my homework well. Yeah, I didn't just ambush him. I prepped him, and then I gave him the opportunity to practice, share his concerns, and then we did it again. Currently, he is a full-time lecturer now,
Wow.
and I am here.
I'm sure you're proud of him. This is a great
Exactly. Yeah.
empowerment. So, I mean, we see the failure coming in. At least there
Yeah.
was an opportunity for him to fail. You corrected it, and today I'm sure he's proud of who he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Ruth, anything to share with us on this?
Thank you. I think one of the biggest flaws that we have is assumption. When we assume that they know, so we are good. And the reason why that stems from is because we are in our heads. We just, because we know, we think our knowledge can transfer by proxy. So just because you are near me, you also have the knowledge. Just a similar instance. So what we do largely is work with organizations. We train organizations, empower their teams in data skills. So after trainings, John can bear witness. You do post-training reports. Also have them do certain have about 3 months of post training as well, commitments to them. And so I was working with an intern at the time, and we were supposed to send out a report. And I just told her, do this report. I need it by, next tomorrow. Gave her a deadline that I thought you should be able to do this report by this deadline, you know. And the lady did not know what to do. I did not fear cripples.
Yeah.
And because you do not know what to do, it cripples you from not taking that exact step in the first place. And so she was not able to do it at the deadline. Here I was, had already committed to the client saying, oh, you will get your report at this time. And the back and forth. I had to manage outside and inside and look for how to get it done. And what, just like John, what I learned was the fact that you can't assume that people know. And you cannot also blame them for not doing when you have not taught, when you have not coached, when you have not mentored, when you have not trained. The onus is on you who did not train. The onus is on you who did not mentor. The onus is on you who did not coach such individuals to be able to lead that. And so what we did was, oh, you didn't know how to do it. All right, here is how to do it. I had to do that one because we needed to submit it early, but subsequently they had to be a training session on how to run that particular project. But the underlying lesson learned from that was understanding that people do not learn from you in proxy. It has to be intentional. You have to be sure that this person actually know, and you know by them doing.
Wow. Very rich experience shared here. So you don't only train them, you coach them, you mentor them. And let me also add that you have to provide for them resources that would help them
Yes.
to perform. I've had an instance like that where the resources became an issue. And even though these people were coached, they were mentored, but when they were supposed to deliver results, they leverage on the fact that they did not have the resources to be able to deliver. So yes, we've learned greatly from Ruth and then from John as well. Great experience you have shared with us this afternoon. And that's my last but one question. In as much as it's getting more interesting, but we're also bound by time. I would want Ruth to take this for us. When I read your profile, I was so impressed about your initiatives in the tech space and especially empowering women and children. So, Ruth, let me just ask you this. AI is making information and decision faster. How does generative AI help non-managers to lead change?
Thank you, Portia. There's a video I watched online, and the video was just saying AI, 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 AI. Everybody's screaming AI. And when you ask somebody today, do you know about AI? Oh yeah, I use ChatGPT. But the thing is, AI is here to stay, no matter how we look at it. And for frontline managers, it's not just going to be for tech bros. It's not just going to be for middle managers. It's not just going to be for senior executive. We need to empower our team on how to use artificial intelligence. Today, we are moving from just things like prompt engineering becomes very, because people use ChatGPT, but how do you use it? We can see how AI is able to empower you to create reports. You are able to create business cases. You are able to today we are having I've been seeing a lot of trend these days. People have been writing books, and I've been saying there have been a lot of authors these days. But just to give them credit, the people who are going to be change makers, who are going to drive real change in the next, even now, are people who can really use these tools. So how can you better prompt to drive the results that you're looking for? Even in Excel today, when you're working with Excel, there are AI functions within Excel that can help you better improve and drive speed for analysis for some of the report that we are doing today. We look at things like Google Suite. Google Suite is now fully embedded with AI. Microsoft Suite has been fully embedded with AI. That means we don't even have an excuse to deliver, to not deliver, right? So what AI is helping us to do is help us to think clearly, help us to deliver on time. Speed is something that we are leveraging these days with AI. But again, I always advise for organizations, we must also help them to understand AI and data privacy. Data privacy is something that is very important. How can you properly impute data into AI? How can you also know data protection rules as it pertains to your country? For example, in Nigeria, we have our own data protection guides that helps us. How do you also understand data AI fluency? How can you also understand AI automations? Now, these things are not for tech bros, like I said before. Automating your work process. How can you better do that for marketing teams, for operations teams, for even HR? It has become very imperative right now that we see how we can even leverage AI for to automate certain of our processes in house. I think that in this way we can empower our teams by learning them becomes very important. How this I work in the learning and the development space here in Nigeria, and so most of the requests that we've gotten this year has been around AI. A lot of banks, a lot of organizations are gradually upskilling their teams in AI and AI automation. So my charge to everyone, to every HR leader here is there's so much we can do with AI aside just ChatGPT. We can automate, we can build more report, better reports. We can even our LinkedIn posts can be better, right? But we have to be wary of privacy issue. We have to learn about data protection. We have to learn about AI fluency as well. Yeah, that's my submission. Thank you,
Wow.
Posh.
I guess we have to have another session for tutorials on AI because I saw how passionately you spoke when you gave you the space to talk about AI. Well done. We are proud of your achievements. Yeah.
Thank you,
All
Portia.
right. So we are almost concluding our conversation, and I must say that it's been an interesting one. I have a lot of takeaways from this session, and I'm very sure that our participants do. Now, let me take your final thoughts from John, and then I'll take final thoughts of Ruth before we hear from our participants.
All right. Thank you. It's been a wonderful session. Knowledge learned from all of us on the call, and I'm sure when the audience come in, there are a lot of things that we're going to learn. Um, Today being World International HR Day, I would want to say that HR is not just for those of us in the HR department. Every line manager is an HR person because they interact daily with the people we sit in our departments to manage. And so we need to prepare ourselves to equip them to deal with our people. All right. I would say that we HR now, we are not just policy custodians, but we are supposed to navigate help the organization navigate through this VUCA world, where the world is changing, it's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. We have to position ourselves, and that can only happen when we equip and learn. We learn. I'm an L&D person, and I will never go anywhere without saying, let's learn, let's build ourselves because the world is changing. I always say that the future is not a destination, where we are saying the future we are going, but the future is a direction. It is where we are going. Because our future in Ghana, here in Nigeria, or wherever you are joining from, can be the yesterday of another country because technology is moving at a faster rate. So I will encourage all HRs to humanize change. Change is not about systems, it's about the people. Let's simplify complexities. Let's build trust intentionally. Let's commit to developing people continuously. And let us be courageous. Let us lead with courage. Let us lead with courage. Employees would forget our presentations and our policies, but they will never forget how we made them feel doing change management. Thank you.
Wow, employees will never forget how we made them feel during the change management. Ruth, your final thoughts.
Thank you so much, John. I've learned so much from John today. I've learned also so much from Portia. It's been an interesting conversation. And I've been seeing a lot of comments in the comment section. But one of the things I want to say is I want to just give HR people their flowers. The reason is because I see how much before I used to think that HR was just about recruitment, hire people, and come and tell them, give them their salary at the end of the month. But we see how HR has become a strategic partner to meeting business goals. And so when any team fails, we go to HR. Why are we not seeing productivity in HR? If there are any lapses, any gap, it's an HR problem. And so, like John said, we begin to realize how that HR now has to wear multiple hats. You need to know what is happening in comms. You need to know what is happening in operations. You need to know what is happening in procurement and so on and so forth. And so we have thousands of eyes. We are only seeing Portia's two eyes, but I'm sure Portia has a lot of them.
Of
Yeah,
course.
so my word for you is I truly celebrate you, the work that you do. And moving on from now, next year, I'm hoping to see the many change initiatives that we can run within our organization. And it doesn't have to be outlandish. A small change in a process, a little tweak in a resource, a little a new innovation in the way we approach things, a new way of encouraging our people to do better will go a long way. And all of that accumulates into what we call a big change. So change is not very outlandish. Sometimes it can be, but other times it is just in the little improvement that we can enforce here and there within the teams and within the people. And one thing that John said that is very important is the people. See, we can never talk about HR without people. And so the people becomes the heart of HR. And that's why I'm saying well done. Well done to HR people. And I'm looking forward to the next 1 year of effective change management within our organizations.
Wow, Ruth, this feels so good. This feels so heartwarming. Thank you so much for acknowledging HR practitioners. And as we wait to take questions from participants online, let me also just add on to what Ruth and John has said. HR, we wear many hats, and that is the reason why, for me, I say that we always have to turn around. Sometimes you have to be a mediator, sometimes you have to come in and then make sure that the rules are fixed. Sometimes you have to be there as a strategist, and then we work miracles. For that one, everybody is aware that HR does that. So kudos to all our HR practitioners. I usually say that we are the first people you meet in every organization. I mean, you submit your application to HR, and when you are exiting, we are the last persons that you would also meet. And so the role of HR is so critical. Just like Ruth said, we have moved from the era of just firing and hiring. Now you have to understand what your business is doing and the direction of your business before you can support, before you even empower people to lead change. As an HR practitioner, you have to understand the core business. You have to understand the operations of your business. It is through that you can support or you can't empower people to lead change in that direction. So for me, it's been an interesting conversation. Amongst them all, the role of the line manager, which is very critical, it's number one to me. And so, as HR practitioners, let's draw our line managers close. Let's invest in them. Let them understand their role, and they can support us much better. Then when it comes to the change, we are saying that let's identify the agents of change. John made us understand that we had people who are early adopters, we have people who may be resilient, people who may be passive. So let us try as much as possible to identify this category of people and leverage on the early adapters to get it done. Now, toxic employees, I don't want to go there. We don't wish for toxic employees, but when it happens, we have to make sure that everybody is conforming to what the standards of the organization is. Empowerment without guidance, then that is when people will be approving salaries when they are not supposed to do so. We don't want that chaos in our workplaces. So we make sure that as we are empowering, we are providing guidance to that. And finally, on my AI champion, Ruth gave us so many tips. And one very key thing in AI is the prompting. So the prompts you give the AI is what you get. So learning to give better prompts is very crucial. And the fact that for data privacy, we have to be very careful that we don't put our company's information out there and one day we are found wanting. It's been a very memorable occasion and a good one. At this juncture, we'll be taking questions and input from our participants.
All right. Thank you very much, Portia. Thank you, Ruth, and thank you, John, for this insightful discussion. Well, because you are the ones on the call, maybe you didn't have your focus on the comment session, but being backstage, I saw a lot of encouraging texts, some comments about people talking about good minds and how the insights being shared are transformational. I believe the participants have really tapped into the knowledge shared today. Thank you once again. Now, before we zoom into the Q&A session, I want us to take a few minutes to acknowledge the HR Certification Center, which is the proud sponsor of today's discussion. And then when we come back, we will listen to the questions and try and attempt them to the best of our knowledge. So stick and stay.
HR Certification Center commits to a higher standard.
Why do 93% of the world's leading multinational companies prefer certified professionals? Because they tend to be committed to higher standards and ethics and maintain an informed intercultural competency. Whether you're seeking to build a career or to upgrade your HR professional career, you need to get trained and certified at the HR Certification Center today. Our experience in training and certifying HR professionals is unparalleled. We're trusted to offer a comprehensive portfolio of advanced professional credentials for the HR professionals worldwide, and today, more than 500,000 HR professionals worldwide in 125 plus countries proudly maintain our credentials as a mark of higher professional distinction. HR Certification Center. Call or WhatsApp today on 0244 122 855.
Okay, welcome back. And John, there is a particular question directed at you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assist Portia. And once I project the question, Portia will take the lead and choose which facilitator or which panelist should speak to it.
Wow, John, there you go, Mr. John Lewis. In leading organizational change, how can HR professionals practically help employees embrace change instead of resisting it, especially in workplaces where fear of uncertainty affects performance and engagement?
Okay, Mr. John Lewis.
Yes.
All right, Nicola, thank you for the question. And you see, in first of all, the people would, like I said, the people would only resist the change when they do not see themselves in the change. They don't see why the need for the change. There are a lot of things I can share, but because of time, I will just leverage on one. That is a very important uh, important thing to do. That the change and it's happening must be personalized to the people. The employees must see themselves in the change, and there is always something which we call what is in it for me. What is in it for me? If I know what is in it for me and how I would influence the change that is about to happen when we get to the expected result, the benefits that will come to me first, I will go through the fire for the change. So, as change practitioners, what we can leverage on is tell the people what is in it for them. So, translate the change into personal meaning. What is changing? Why are we changing? What says the same? What is going to change? Let that be made clear to the employees, and the fear will leave. Wherever there is clarity, ambiguity, which brings fear, is dispelled. Let me say it again. Wherever there is clarity, ambiguity, which brings fear, is dispelled. So let the people know why and what and how it affects to them, and they'll relate with it. Then the second thing I'll talk about is communication. Break the silence, break the silence. Consistently let the people know. You see, email is not change management. HR, let me say it again. Blasting an email is not change management. Constant communication. Apart from the emails, how are the change champions engaging the people? That is very important. So deal with what is in it for them, and then two, constant engagement and communication is what I would say we could leverage on. Yeah.
Thank you, John Louise. Nicholas, I'm sure your question is well answered. Yeah, so engagement, very key in change management. All right, there is a question here from Esther Yabua, and it says, what if the survey is not being filled? How do you still do the evaluation to determine if the behavioral changes are being implemented? Esther, I can relate to this. When surveys are sent out, to get responses is even difficult. Ruth, would you want to share with us any tips we can use when the surveys are not being filled?
Hi, okay. So we've had that countless times. I'm sure across our organizations, when we send out surveys, people, it will take 1 month, 1 month before people will fill the surveys. I think that what can be done is, please, when we know that this is an attribute, we should also time when our surveys go out, send them out on time so that we can review those information on time. I think that we can also work with team leads as well to help drive it within their teams. That's one of the approaches I know has worked. So yeah, while you do a company wide while you send it out company wide, you also work with their line managers to ensure that they are communicating with their people to say, oh, you've not filled this, please fill it, and all of that. Another thing that can work is to also meet, if you can meet people individually, that can work. But I think the core part that would help drive that faster is their line managers.
Yeah, let me add this quick one. You see, in research, there is always an appreciable sample size. So we don't expect that when the survey goes out, we are looking out for 100% completion. We should determine what will be the appropriate sample size that we are going to leverage on to analyze our data. So we should also be guided about that. Wonderful submission about getting the line managers tracking it by departments. You don't know the people, but you know the department expected number. So you track it and you constantly tell, okay, HR, you are 10%, finance, you are 20%. When we communicate that, line managers and show it at ESCO. When you show it, the room would push them to get the respondents to complete.
Yes, because if
John,
you work in a very competitive team, For example, where if it's very competitive, if one department knows that they've not filled it, they will run and go and fill their form so that they will not be the ones to.
Yes, exactly. So, John, you've got a trick. So, this is where the input of line managers come in once again. I mean, for line managers and HR, we have to be eating together and be moving together because they would help you to do that. So, of course, once you start showing the figures, finance is 10%, production is 2%. Ha, all the others will come in. Line managers will get it done. Thank you for the submissions. All right, we have another question, and it says, "What? Thank you so much for an enlightening session. Thank you to Mary Joy. I would like to know how to manage an influential or charismatic employee who is vehemently against a change that is being introduced by management." So, John, your resistors have come here. Would you want to help us?
Yes, why is the person resisting? Mind you, this is an influential and charismatic employee. So when you have their buy-in, you are sure that you will go far with your change initiative. I would advise you to draw closer, find out why they are resisting the change. What is that? I said it. Let me say it again. Resistance will come from no clarity, ambiguity. They don't know what is in it for them. Why are we changing? What is changing? What is the impact? What is going to be the effect? Get in and personalize the change. Personalize the change that is happening with them. You'll be amazed that when that is done, you can get their buy-in and they'll be your drivers of the change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. So get closer to them, get to find out why they are resisting, and get their buy-in. If you get their buy-in, you will fly. All right. So we have a question for Ruth from Precious. So Ruth, with your experience in training corporate professionals on integrating AI in their work, how do you handle employees who are resistant to the adoption due to clinging to old ways of doing things?
So first off, I want you to understand that it's normal to have people who will say no. It's because change is hard for certain people. John had earlier mentioned about the early adopters, the laggards, and people who find it difficult to change, right? So one of the things that we can do, we can mirror what the expected future looks like. A lot of times when people resist change, perhaps they have not seen what the benefits of that change truly looks like. So we can leverage those who are early adopters to say, for example, you don't want to use AI tool to create your business report. Go ahead, use your old ways, and you stay there for 3 weeks. And a certain John Doe comes to your desk and say, "Oh, I'm done with my own report." I like, I've been struggling for how many days now? So first of all, I think that we can mirror leaders can mirror what the results or the outcomes of what change will look like. Also, we can identify what is the hindrances or what are the blockers for this person. Is it just fear? Is it knowledge? Could there be a skill gap? Because sometimes we think that people know, whereas they don't know. So we want to identify what is causing the hindrance to them adopting this change. If you realize that it is fear, then coaching them, or like I mentioned earlier, mirroring would help them, open up their minds even more. But if it's a training issue, we then begin to look at training programs that can help build the hard skills for them to be able to use those tools. So people want good things, right? But for many of them, they don't know how to navigate that journey. So we are there to help them navigate that journey, even as laggards in terms of adoption.
Thank you, Ruth. That was a very insightful submission. All right, so we have one question from Patience, and it says, "How do you balance providing structure, guidance, and support to employees, especially new joiners during probation, without it being perceived as micromanagement? For example, it is inappropriate for a line manager to review and make adjustments to a new employee's emails before they are sent to ensure proper communication standards and support learning? How are you going to balance providing structure, guidance, and support to employees, especially when we have new joiners? John, do you want to start for us?
Yes, so great question. A new joiner is a new joiner. A new joiner may not necessarily be an entry level staff. So let's put in context. An entry level staff is somebody who have just come from the university and may not necessarily know a lot of things about corporate work and corporate communication and all that. And so reviewing their emails before they send in itself is not a bad thing to do, but it is only when you do it and do it and do it and do it over a period of time without any form of reinforcement, any form of correction, any form of guidance. And so you don't expect that such mistakes that may have been done in a previous mail will be repeated. So you should give a time for the learning, and then you can review what is being learned. Okay, so the hand of an entry level staff should be guided in the processes, in the structure, in the way of work of the current organization. Yeah. Micromanagement becomes visible when the autonomy, the degree, and the proportion to which an employee feels that his level of autonomy is affected. That is where it's perceived as micromanagement. But if on a scale of 1 to 10, I give you autonomy of a 3 and a guidance of a 7, but over time, I progressively increase your level of autonomy and reduce my level of guidance, then I am empowering you over a period of time. But it has to be done in a structured way. It has to be done in kind of coaching. Yeah. So this is not bad in itself, but it has to be done over a period of time in proportion, and it should be well structured. Thank you.
All right, great. It should be limited. And I also believe that with new employees, the buddy system also helps. So get a person a buddy so that the person can always feel comfortable to ask, how is it done here? So once the person joins, you can assign a colleague or somebody within the department so that they can move along and learn together. All right. Thank you for the submission.
So I also had something to say regarding that,
Okay.
and that's the fact that we should not see. John had rightly defined what micromanagement is. Even within organizations, we have something we call maker checker, where you do a work and somebody checks it for errors, for non-conformance, and the rest of that. So checking for conformance is something that is necessary to be done so that we don't put out to the public what does not comply, or checking for compliance and conformance is something that is very important. So just like John said, it should not be that people's autonomy should be taken off, but conformance and compliance is something that is very important so that we do not tarnish our brand, we do not tarnish our image, we do not misrepresent ourselves either in public or even within ourselves. That's my addition.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, John. Okay. So, patience, I hope we were able to respond to your question. All right. So, we have a question from Gift Say to John, and it says, John, could you kindly repeat what you said about mastery earlier? John has said a lot today. I hope you could remember. So, Gifty wants you to repeat what you said about mastery. I remember when we had a discussion around Pink's model, we talked about mastery, we talked about autonomy. So, here, Gifty wants you to repeat it. I'm not sure if you remember exactly what the mastery was.
Yeah, so I wrote it down. So let me just repeat it. I said that purpose stabilizes people emotionally. Purpose stabilizes people emotionally. Mastery rebuilds confidence practically. That is where repetition, I spoke about repetition. Mastery rebuilds confidence practically. And then I said autonomy restores dignity psychologically. Autonomy restores dignity psychologically. I think that this one will stick with everybody. Yeah.
Thank you so much, John, for repeating that. Gifty, we hope you had the response. All right, Salas is back here. And so let me hand over to him to listen to what he has for us.
All right. Thank you, Portia. Thank you, John. And thank you, Ruth, for today's insightful discussion and knowledge shared. This brings us to the end of our Q&A session. And because today is the International HR Day, we as a center have something special where we want to appreciate all HRs. But my guests and our speakers would also want to acknowledge a few people. So we just want to give them a few seconds, and especially since they are leading very strong and able and capable teams, I believe they would want to honor their people first. Then we as a center would also appreciate the whole HR community at large. So John, you may start.
All right, thank you. And I would want to express my sincerest appreciation to a few people, and I would want to mention their names. I'll start with Professor Irene Kwamabuating. She is a professor at the Valley University. Professor Kosi Apostateria, professor at University of Ghana Business School, Augustina Okwausaba. I would want to mention of AC, Nobel Wilson, Margaret Jackson, also Boahin, and my current team under the able leadership of Mrs. Angela Okine, my boss, Christian Ayeno, Vida, Justina, and then to the powerful CBG HR team. They are a super team. They are doing amazing work. They are powerful people. And today being International HR Day, I want to say that colleagues, I appreciate you. We cherish you for what you are doing, the sacrifices that you are making, and together we will build the most trusted bank in Ghana, which is CBG. Thank you, HR team, for the opportunity. I've found a way to market my bank.
I tell you, John. Thank you for that, John. All right, Ruth, you have the floor, please. Okay, Ruth, if you can hear me, you have the floor, please.
Hi, Silas.
Hi, Ruth.
Please confirm if you can hear me.
I can.
All right. Thank you so much again to the HR Certification Center for the opportunity. I first and foremost will want to thank my CEO. He's celebrating his 4 years anniversary today as CEO, and I want to say thank you. He recently also just got his GPHRI. I'm sure Portia would know about that. So he's a full-fledged HR professional, and I want to say thank you for your leadership. Well done for investing in your people. I am here because of him, because he gave me permission to speak here. Second, I want to appreciate my boss, Kamal Dandina. He's currently on the call. We talk about the relationship between HR and line managers. So he's here for that. Thank you so much. I want to appreciate our COO, Titi Lalabelo. He manages the entire HR team here at Detalium. I want to say I celebrate you greatly for all that you do. And the entire Detalium team, they are here. They've been commenting, they've been chatting. I want to say thank you. I want to celebrate Precious Odu. She leads her own team. She works as a director as well for her own company. So well done. Thank you. And to our HR lead, Jessica Nodum. I'm not sure, I don't know if she's on this call, but I want to say well done for all that you've done, all that you do. I want to also appreciate the entire HR team at Detalium. I'm saying well done. I want to appreciate the HR gems. There are many HR professionals, but we've collaborated with some organizations like the HR gems, and we've also collaborated with organizations like the HR Talent Hub. These are people who are our partners, and we want to say thank you. Thank you so much for doing business with us and for working with us. I want to say appreciate especially Oluwatoyin Fadipe. Yes, she's also an HR professional. I want to say well done, well done, well done. So, and I want to appreciate Portia Yes, SPHRI. And Pearl. Well done so much. Silas, I don't know if you're in HR, so I don't know if this appreciation will go to you.
I am in the industry.
You're in the industry. So, and John as well, I want to say well done. The work that you all do is phenomenal. So thank you so much. And yes, this is to just say we appreciate HR professionals so much that we created a report for them. So if you can just check our Instagram pages at Detalium, you would see all of that. So thank you again one more time.
All
Silas,
right.
sorry.
Thank you, Ruth.
Silas,
And
one more, please. Let me
all right.
appreciate all the team of Ghana Learning and Development Network under the able leadership of Akosia and Kwesi. Let me send out a big appreciation. They are doing well for the HR body, and also to thank HR Certification Center for giving us the opportunity to share insights on this most important day. But for the so many people within the industry, we have been given the opportunity, and we want to appreciate Pearl and Dr. Bassi for the opportunity, the confidence entrusted in us to navigate today. And Pearl, Portia has been super, super, super. Great moderation from and Silas too. We salute you and thank you. Greetings to all the Nigerian folks and all those who joined from across the world.
Okay. Thank you to John, and we are very grateful. And I believe Portia would be the one to close. So Portia, I'll give you the honors of having the last word. But before that, we prepared a very short video, and this is to honor some specific HR professionals. And as an HR certification center and a training institution, we believe in honoring who honor is due. So this is a video we prepared as a center for the HR community. All right. So
Ah,
Yeah.
this is a little way of saying a very big thank you to each and
can we
every
get a
agent.
video?
Definitely, we'll do well to
Yeah.
share with you after the call. And we appreciate you so much, and we are grateful for everything you do in the workplace, especially when people do not see you too much. You notice that there are some key people who are always visible, but HR is always like the one hiding behind the scenes, doing all the magic. We are grateful for all you do and keep doing the great work. And this is also to remind each and everyone on the call. So we had over 200 participants today, and this is all across Africa. And it's very interesting and beautiful to have a community so strong and so united. And this was proudly brought to you by the HR Certification Center. And we are the approved training providers for the HRCI's International Certification Program. And our next cohort is coming up on the 13th of June. So anyone who is interested in getting certified, you know a team member, you have a colleague, do well to recommend them or let them give us a call or a WhatsApp, and we'll do well to assist them. Portia, your last words, and we draw the curtains.
All right, thank you. I hope I also have the opportunity to make some few acknowledgements. Yeah. But I must say it's so good to see those faces being acknowledged. Thank you so much to the HR Certification Center for putting this together and for making the HR profession stand out. So my final words, I must say that as HR professionals, the role we play in businesses is very crucial. We sit on the board. We are supposed to also make sure that employees are performing. And so every time you have this question coming that HR is for management, management also sees HR to be for employees. Now, how do you defend yourself as an HR practitioner? It's just about knowing the core business operations, making sure that you are in a neutral but a professional stance to deliver. So my word out there is that as we empower people to lead change, let's make sure that we are guiding them. Let's make sure that we are investing in them. Let's make sure that we are coaching and then mentoring them. And together we'll have a better HR community. So first and foremost, sincere appreciation to the HR Certification Center for getting us on board, for trusting us to deliver this session. And then I would also acknowledge all HR practitioners. I'm sure if I should mention names, I would leave someone. But I want to say a very big thank you to my boss, Heta Edu. I mean, she had to make the network work for me today. And I'm so grateful that I'm so grateful that she did. And for some HR practitioners who I can never forget, who have made me who I am today, have impacted so much in my life, Mr. Kenneth Entry, Nutifafa Abra, Wilhelmina Bokite, I say thank you. To Yvonne Owusu Setre, I say thank you. For the team members I've worked with at Send Power, I say thank you. To Rebecca Dobia, to Sebastian, thank you so much. And then to the MSc class of the University of Gold Coast, MSc HR, I say thank you so much for being so supportive. And I would also say a very special thank you and a happy HR Day to Pearl, our executive director. I mean, Pearl has played a key role in helping me achieve my professional certification during the classes, during the payments of fees and all that. She's been a great influence. So Pearl, thank you so much for all that you do for the HR community. And Salas, thank you so much. You've been there throughout. Yes, Pearl, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Salas, and to the entire HR Certification Center. I do appreciate you all.
Silas.
Yes, John.
Hello. Charlie, one last one. Let me say a very powerful happy HR day to Mrs. Catherine Opata. She's the HR, Deputy HR of Pentecost Hospital. She's in the business, and happy HR day. Thank you.
John, you would have been in trouble today. That was
Tell
a good
you, my
scene.
brother.
John, just say your wife. That's all.
I didn't want to
So
say
we
now.
can connect.
Very professional appreciation.
But how could you miss that?
You're right. No, you would have been in trouble today. So once again, thank you all. Thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you to our participants. Thank you to the organizers. And thank you to each and everyone who came together to make this a success. We are grateful, and we encourage everyone on the call to follow us on all our social media platforms at HR Certification Center. And we'll keep bringing you so many educational content like this. And our focus is to impact the HR community in the right way. Thank you once again, and have a fruitful evening. It's bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Certification Center commits to a higher standard.
Wow.